Welcome everyone to the Melbourne Women's Fund site visit for Tradeswomen Australia Community Foundation. I'm Sarah Davies and I'm been on the Grants Committee from Melbourne Women's Fund. And I would like to commence. With me today, I'd like to introduce Janet Cripps, CEO of Tradeswomen Community Foundation, and Kate Hughes-Hallett. To commence, I'd like to invite you to join in the spirit of reconciliation for an acknowledgement of country on behalf of the Melbourne Women's Fund. Melbourne Women's Fund sincerely acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as First Australians and traditional custodians of our country. We recognise and value their continuous connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Thank you. Before we meet the Tradeswomen Australia Community Foundation team, a couple of housekeeping matters. Attendees will be muted and with videos off during the visit. You can enter questions and comments in the chat section at any time. We'll ask everyone's questions at the end of the session. For anyone not familiar with how to access the chat area, click on the chat bubble icon in the Zoom toolbar at the bottom of the window. If you're unable to see the toolbar, just hover your mouse over the bottom area of your Zoom window and it will pop up. Once you click on the chat bubble, it will open for you on the right and stay open. Remember to press send when you've completed your question. Lastly, this meeting is being recorded so that we can make today's visit available to watch on our website, on the Melbourne Women's Fund website. So now it's my great pleasure to introduce both Janet and Kate. We're fortunate to have their in-depth experience as a finalist for the signature grant of the Melbourne Women's Fund. I'm pleased to provide a brief overview, as I only can, of the Tradeswomen Australia Community Foundation. And that is that the project they're seeking support for is Remade for Trade, supporting women's pathways to non-traditional trades. It falls within Melbourne Women's Fund 2022 focus area of education and economic empowerment. The project will take place in Brimbank, Diamond Valley and Dandenong, and aims to overcome barriers to employment opportunities and entrance for women living with disadvantage or in vulnerable situations. I'd now like to invite Janet Cripps, CEO, and Kate Hughes-Hallett, board member, for them to introduce you and inform you about the Tradeswomen Australia Community Foundation. Janet and Kate, welcome.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. It's fantastic. It's a real thrill to be considered a finalist. So we hope that we do justice to the choice and that you leave really informed and really inspired by the work that happens at Tradeswomen Community Foundation, especially. Our chair, Kate Hughes, is going to do the first part where she talks a bit about the overview of the foundation and the parent body Tradeswomen Australia, and then I will talk about the project itself.
Thanks.
To you.
Thanks, Janet, and thank you, Sarah, for that lovely introduction. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk to everyone about the work that we're doing. So Tradeswomen Australia Community Foundation sits within our overarching organisation, Tradeswomen Australia, which was founded in 2013 by Fiona MacDonald, who is a light vehicle apprentice, or was a light vehicle apprentice, in response to the lack of support and opportunities for women in the trade industries. And obviously we've seen that change a little bit in the last 10 years, but not as much as we would like, which is the work that we continue to do. By 2022, Tradeswomen Australia is a not-for-profit with national reach. We're a DGR entity, having set up the Community Foundation in the last couple of years. So we share a collective vision and values and mission across the organisations, but Community Foundation focuses on educating and supporting women who are at risk or in vulnerable situations to transition to financial and life security through trade careers. The overarching vision and mission for the organisations is an Australia where women and girls can and do work successfully in trades. And we look to create equality and equity in trades by partnering with employers to create culturally safe and inclusive workplaces, and mentoring, educating, supporting women and girls in non-traditional trades, which is the focus really for the Community Foundation. That's all built around a number of values as an organisation: respect, integrity, equality, courage, and the relationships we have with the partners we work with, like the Melbourne Women's Fund. Some recent achievements for us. So the first Pathways into Trade session was delivered to the City of Wyndham, which resulted in about 40% of the participants being placed in trade roles, which was quite successful. Janet and the team are currently working on supporting women to succeed in a program in Burnie in Tasmania. And we were recently successful with our first major project grant by Perpetual to as part of their 2022 Impact Philosophy Application Programme, which is focused on supporting girls into trades in Western Australia. I'm going to hand across to Janet now, who's going to talk to you about the great work that we're hoping to do with you guys. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Kate. So I suppose just to give you some background and to kind of talk about the actual social need, we've in the foundation where we work really hard to try and increase the representation of women into the skilled area, into the skilled trades, which are male dominated, as Kate has identified and Sarah acknowledged at the beginning, and it's really to empower them to be able to make the choice and make choices that will hopefully allow them to have lifelong financial security, and that's an important part of why we do what we do. We know that women's participation as apprentices and trainees in those male-dominated trades is less than 2%. And over the last 25 years, it's remained pretty steady at that. In fact, it probably, to be fair, it's gone down from 6% where it was 25 years ago to 2%. So there's a bit of work that needs to be done in actually attracting women and particularly women who are living with disadvantage and vulnerability into a trades area. We also know that the barriers preventing access for women into the jobs are, firstly, there's a lack of education about the careers in trades for girls in secondary school, and there's poor workplace culture and some social misconception about the unattractiveness of trades. And then there's really no structural support in the system for women who are working in male-dominated trades. It has shifted a little, particularly in the last couple of years. It's the presence and just the exposure and the focus has shifted a little since COVID. So through our program and through this project, we're hoping to establish a mentoring and peer support program and ensure that the women who go through have that job readiness and are supported into employment. And we did identify Brimbank, Dandenong, and rather than Diamond Valley, it was actually Banyule. I think that when I was writing Diamond Valley, I meant Diamond Creek, and so it's a slight shift in focus, but it's still to the same purpose. It's the project's going to recruit and train women into those jobs, and we're hoping to do that with experienced mentors who are in the trade already. And one of the things we know worked really well was the establishment of a peer support circle, which then helps the girls the women support each other and do some resilience training with some real hands-on in the workshops in terms of growing their confidence and understanding around what it is to have an opportunity, what it is to be exposed to a trade, some ability to ask questions and have the women who are actually working in those trades answer those questions, and that worked really, really well. So as we've indicated, we're wanting to establish this kind of what we call job ready opportunity, so that women who are living with disadvantage, and that's the particular cohort as opposed to, you know, all women or all areas across the board, we're hoping that we can target women who are either immigrants or from refugee background, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, women from any cultural and linguistic background, mothers together with their daughters, and women of all ages. And like we said, we're hoping that it will be in the Diamond Creek area, which is Banyule, Brimbank and Dandenong. And we've chosen those areas because through our experience, unemployment in Brimbank sits at 10.4%. In Dandenong, it's 10.3%, and in Banyule, it's 5.7%. So it's a kind of a range, but it's Brimbank and Dandenong in particular at the higher end of unemployment. And as we've indicated in our grant, we're hoping that we might be able to have at least 36 women who will have the opportunity to be placed in some kind of apprenticeship or traineeship, which will lead to lifelong participation in the trade. So Remade for Trades is a program that was established through Tradeswomen Australia as the parent body, having identified that women with living in those more disadvantaged situations, living with vulnerability or living with the risk, called women, have increased difficulty in accessing employment. And so our trades are basically in the building, construction, automotive, horticulture, renewable energy, plumbing, carpentry, electrician, you name it, any trade that is available. We try and place women who are interested, once they've kind of discovered their interest, to a secure pathway into that apprenticeship. One of the things that we do is work with our partners to ensure that the environments in which we're placing women have some kind of understanding of what it is to be gender inclusive, and to work with their diversity and inclusion, and know that, you know, the pathway that we're actually trying to establish with our partners are people that we are feel pretty confident with in terms of placing the women into those particular organisations. So with that in mind, what we do with our participants is we try and establish a pathway for them to be able to really understand what it means to be in a trade. You know, many of our conversations with women who had absolutely no idea that was a possibility, young girls at school who that hasn't been an opportunity. And so it's initially it's really exciting, because it's that whole sense of, oh wow, I didn't know that I could do this, and then to actually talk to real tradeswomen about, you know, their experiences really cements it. So it's fair to say that we need to work with identifying how to build confidence, and then to be able to take the next step into actually putting that application in. And what we found was that whilst there was a whole lot of excitement and there was a lot of understanding about, you know, what it was to be in a trade, that step to actually putting the application in and going for the interview is where there's a lot of support that's needed. And so we're actually now establishing mentors at the very beginning, as opposed to putting women into those mentoring situations once they've completed the project. And the workshop. So it's having learned from, you know, our initial pilot in Wyndham, and found that it's really a benefit to have mentors at the very beginning, so that girls, or, you know, women have that opportunity to be able to ask questions and be supported through their kind of, you know, insecurities, that lack of confidence, and you know, being able to build the confidence to take the next step. So when our outcomes for, obviously when we finish the project, is to be able to, you know, having raised awareness about the pathways, and having learned about the different roles that are available, that the steps then to actually put them into either a training or into an apprenticeship. We work also with doing some workplace placements for 4 weeks. We're increasing that so that there's an opportunity for the women to be able to just try it, to see, because not everybody, once they get in there, having been excited, wants to continue for a whole lot of reasons, and that they might pursue careers alongside that, and not exactly in what they thought that they were going to be pursuing. But nonetheless, I think it actually is a benefit to have gone through the process, because they end up in employment anyway, and that's a great outcome, irrespective of whether it's not directly in the trade itself, but alongside in, you know, perhaps in an avenue where there's retail in the workshops, rather than actually on the floor doing the trade work. And I think the other social benefit is that they develop a peer support network that really enables them to have long-term, you know, personal connections with one another, and to be able to support each other in that, and to form some nice bonds and some nice friendships that they didn't have before. So it has multiple, you know, effects, not just the economic one, but the social one, that kind of sense of feeling connected. I think one of the women said that sense of belonging was really strong in that network. So it was a great, you know, like, it was a terrific outcome. And we will do an evaluation and monitor to see what we do learn as part of this experience, and refine it for, you know, when we roll it out the next time. So I hope that's given you a good indication of what it is that we're proposing, and that you have some questions that we might be able to answer would be fabulous. So thank you. Back to you, Sarah and Amanda. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Janet and Kate. I'd like to, yes, certainly invite members to ask any questions. Can I just ask one question to kick off, Janet? How have you found employers' response to?
Well, we've got probably about 650 different partners and organisations that are willing and want to have, you know, a gender diverse workforce, and want to welcome women. So it's fair to say that not all of them are equal, and we ensure that we give all workers through Tradeswomen Australia the opportunity to actually do some work in that space of ensuring that their organisations are kind of culturally sensitive and aware to welcome women and, you know, all diversity really in their workplaces. So we do that in a way that we can reassure ourselves that we're giving the women that we work with the best possible chance to actually work well and succeed in the areas that they've chosen to work in.
We have another question for you. How do you recruit the project beneficiary participants from the target communities and also the
We have,
mentors?
good question. And what we have are strong networks in the communities, and we have obviously a project officer that works in establishing those links and making sure that they're connected into the communities that we're wanting to target. And so through a bit of experience and having rolled out this project already, we know what pathways and what avenues and where we're most likely to succeed in the connections that we have made on the ground. So it's through the local organisations, local support groups, local employers who are interested and who already have women working with them.
Thank you, Janet. And another question, please. Could you please discuss the structural relationship between Tradeswomen Australia and Tradeswomen Australia Community Foundation? Because I think there might have been a little confusion.
Sure. I'll have a go, and then if I leave anything out, Kate, you might, have a jump in. So. Sure. The best way probably to describe it is that Tradeswomen Australia is like the parent body, and Tradeswomen Community Foundation is like the child, the subsidiary, and the Community Foundation works specifically with women who come from and are living with disadvantage or living in vulnerable situations, called or Indigenous, where the intersectionality is probably the strongest. So it's a particular cohort of the population that we work with in the foundation. We have DGR status, which enables us to access philanthropic grants, which is not something that we can do with Tradeswomen Australia. That works primarily at the moment in the culture, place, change making area, and we do also have an apprenticeship employment program where we attract and try and retain apprentices in the workplaces and organisations, but it's not specifically in one area, it's across the board.
Thank you, Janet. Kate, would you like to add anything?
No, I think Janet's covered it off pretty well. It really is, as Janet was saying, the Community Foundation focuses on supporting women in that intersectional disadvantaged areas, and the Tradeswomen Australia group does the work with creating workplaces that are culturally sound and robust, and we're comfortable to place women into them. So that's kind of the big delineation between what the groups do, but collectively we're all working towards the same mission and vision. It's just two parts of the same plan.
Thank you both very much. Another question we have: how long after placement do you maintain links with the women who've been placed in workplaces?
We have it up to 12 months, so we follow them through for 12 months. And, we're also working on a mentoring program which will enable us to follow women through to for the life of the apprenticeship. And so that's almost complete, and we'll probably be able to follow them through for longer than the 12 months that we initially do now.
Very good, thank you. And what ages does Tradeswomen Community Foundation support?
Well, probably girls from the age of 16 to women right through to 55, 60, like wherever a woman shows any interest in trying a trade or is interested in a career change. We had one woman who was a nurse who became a plumber and loves it. So it's like, across the board, anyone who's interested, basically.
Very good. Are there any more questions any other participants would like to ask? Please put them in the chat. Oh, all right. Can you tell us a bit more about the women's experience breaking into trades? Do you have a story or two? Client story?
Sure. Yeah. Look, we have one, I suppose I can kind of capture it in one of the participants in the Wyndham project. This is specifically in our community foundation. She had been trying for 2 years to break into an apprenticeship. She really wanted to be a plumber, and actually two. One wanted to be a plumber, one wanted to be a carpenter, and had been trying for 2 years. And once they went through the program, and not only did it give them confidence to actually, stick with what they wanted to do, but it enabled them to find avenues and a plan forward. So I think that's the thing that is really important, is that each participant comes away with a real clear plan about what steps are needed in order to get into a traineeship or an apprenticeship, and that they're actually supported, with all of the writing up of CVs, all of the making appointments, ensuring that they actually get to the appointments, and then supporting, in the debriefing, and obviously the once they're in, with the mentoring that continues. So it's designed with the women in mind who probably need that extra support to take the steps necessary to actually get into that apprenticeship. So their experience, I think all of them who have been through this program come away feeling really excited, confident, and with a kind of a sense of optimism about perhaps working in an area, whether they've thought about it or whether they're kind of just learning about it and wanting to, try it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Janet. Any plans for longer term studies for tracking the success or issues with this program, or for women placed in trades?
Yes, very much. We track all of our obviously participants, and all of the literature that and all of the research that happens in any 1 year. And we have worked with Think Impact, and we'll continue to work with Think Impact to monitor just how the outcomes are either succeeding or not, and the benefits of the actual work itself. And so we'll keep refining what we learn probably each year, that as we learn different ways of working in these environments to help attract and retain, and also just to raise that awareness of the possibility, because as I said, the barriers are quite strong, and it's not just kids not learning, or girls not learning about it at school. It's also the peer pressure and the parental bias as well about women working in trades. And
any other questions? Oh, does TWA find employers?
Yes.
Are they able to make a cultural shift needed in their business with their male employees?
Well, I can say that we've been working with the automotive industry for the last 2 years, and we've just finished the culture change piece, and we're writing up the evaluation. And so far, in terms of the evidence that's coming back, and the feedback that's coming from the actual business owners themselves, is just what a difference it makes to their whole business, going through and taking part in the modules that they've been taking part in, and that it does actually result, it wasn't part of what we started off to do, but it does result in employers employing more women.
Oh, that's great.
Mm.
Thank you very much, Janet and Kate. Any other questions, participants? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's just been a pleasure, so thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
if there are no further questions, I think you've covered everything very well, Janet and Kate, so thank you for that. I'd just like to finalise this segment by saying that thank you very much everybody who has given the time today to attend. The Melbourne's Women Fund Information Night, which was held a couple of weeks ago, that is available, of which there's further information about the Tradeswomen Australia Community Foundation and all 5 other 2022 finalists. It's now available on the Melbourne Women's Fund website. So that's another way of accessing any information. And then the very best, the most exciting event is the Grants Award evening, and that is on Thursday the 17th of November at 6 p.m. at Melbourne Town Hall. If you haven't already, it is required that you book for that event, please. There is a link and that has been posted in the chat. If you can see that now on screen. Reminders will also be posted on Melbourne Women's Fund social pages. But please, everyone, book that event. It's a end of a wonderful year of work, both work and learning about so many organisations doing really incredibly valuable work in our community. And our 6 finalists, 3 for the Nurturing Grant and 3 for the Signature Grant, all present at that event, and then members vote. So sincere gratitude, Tradeswomen Australia Community Foundation, Janet Cribbs and Kate Hughes-Hallett, both of you, and for making today possible, and also for all members who do in turn make the Melbourne Women's Grants possible. Because without your membership, we are unable to obtain the monies to grant. Look forward to seeing everybody on Thursday, the 17th of November at 6 p.m. at the Melbourne Town Hall. So thank you very much. Be well for the next 2 weeks. Good on you, Janet. Bye, Kate. Bye, Amanda.
Yeah.
Bye, all attendees. Thank you very much.